Rolling.
Back during World War II, in 1944, late 44 and early 1945, the Russian armies were rapidly moving west, pushing the Germans back into and through Germany. One of the results of that was that some of the concentration camp guards fled before the Russian army, forcing the inmates to go with them. One of those camps that was evacuated before the Russians fled in the direction of the 82nd Airborne Division, which was moving towards the Elbe River. I was a medic in the 82nd Airborne, and when we took Ludwigslust, which is a small town on the Elbe River, we also liberated a camp which had been created to house, if we can use that term, the survivors of that forced march, which was a small percentage of those who started out. The rest died on the way. All of the division was rotated through the camp so we would see the kinds of creatures that we had been fighting as the Germans. Our division established an emergency hospital to try to slow down the rate of dying of these former inmates and the old camp, and now the new inmates of the newly established camp. The camp was called Wobelein. It had hundreds and hundreds of survivors in it. We quickly confiscated a former barracks of the SS, which was a U-shaped, very substantial building, solid, and moved the inmates into it. There were 6 American soldiers who would be supervising 125 German field soldiers, that's a company, plus dozens of German army doctors and equivalent number of German army nurses. All of these would be used, needed, and asked to do all the work connected with first slowing down the rate of dying and taking care of the former inmates. The 6 Americans consisted of 1 captain, 3 skilled medical technicians, and 1 very junior medical technician who did not know much, who, however, was totally fluent in German. In fact, that was me. And as we were getting ready to tell the Germans what needed to be done, the captain in charge of our small detail came to me, or rather, I shouldn't say came to me. He came to me by ordering me to come to him. I came to him, and then he said, "You are our German speaker. I'm relying on you, and in fact, I'm holding you responsible for seeing to it that the Germans follow every one of our orders." So I said, "I'm a PFC, I'm 19, 20 years old, one or the other. Probably I was sufficiently confused, I didn't know exactly which. And what do I say to them?" And he gave me some somewhat less polished statements about how much he cared what I said, than saying that I don't care, and told me to must make sure, and that he was still holding me responsible for it. So I said okay, and I was still boiling mad at the Germans, at what had been done to all of these inmates, because my family through sheer luck, missed out being one of them. And so I called the Germans together and told them there are several things they needed to know. One was that I am Jewish, that my family is one of those German Jewish families they had tried to murder, and we got away. And in addition, as is somewhat obvious, I'm back. And the Russians, who are right next to us, have asked us to hand over to them all Germans who do not like to work. And as far as we are concerned, anyone who does not follow any of our orders does not like to work. The result of that is something that the Germans, can probably determine by yourselves. And you can look forward to my being your liaison with the American Army. So good luck. The first test of this system came about shortly afterwards as I was talking with their Oberfeldwebel, which is the first sergeant of that field company, because we were discussing just the fact that a nurse would have to be with each former inmate or current inmate in the hospital who was getting a shower because they were in horrible conditions, and that after the shower they would have to be treated well, and they would have to get fresh underwear. To which the German sergeant said, there isn't any because we're at war. There's been a long and bad war. So I said, I know about that, but I also know where there is enough underwear. He said, where is it? So I just said, you're wearing it. And he did not argue from that point on. So that is one of the small things that I tried to contribute to the improved fate of those inmates.
So did all the German officers take off their underwear, wash it, and give it to the prisoners?
No, I don't know that actually happened. My guess is that the sergeant was able to find fresh and new underwear because there was enough of it existing in the town and in the local town. And there were a few other things that the local townspeople went through that they did not appreciate, including, among other things, the fact that the mayor of that little town next to the concentration camp committed suicide when we came in.